you
Oh God.
before we go anywhere with it. Okay?
I am not.
Okay, boys and girls, it's Bill Evans for FOH TV, and we're sitting here with Mark Dennis in his office at the Caw Theater at the MGM Grand. And so, what's up?
Here we are. Here we are. Getting ready to do a show.
Yeah, they're starting a tech run right now. You guys have been dark for what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and this is during dark periods are maintenance time.
Yeah, yeah. It's the one time. Well, it's also a time when the artists get a break.
Right.
And get to recoup and recover. So that's their big vacation time. That's when we go to work.
Right.
Doing all the big projects.
Right. The stuff that you can't do when you guys are running. What do you guys do? 6 shows a week?
10 shows a week.
10 shows a week?
10 shows a week. 2 days, Sunday, Monday dark.
Okay.
2 shows a night.
Every night.
Every night.
Oh man, that's brutal.
It's a gig.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Okay. And you've been here since Caw opened?
Since there was a hole in the ground.
Since there's a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Actually, I really want to talk about some of your background and everything. It's like I've told a bunch of people. It's like when you live here, it's like you got all these people that are have done some pretty amazing stuff, and you tend to forget that they're sitting right there. And so I've been wanting to do this I met Mark on a trip to Washington D.C. for sure to try and talk some sense into Congress and the FCC about wireless mics, which I think we failed miserably.
I don't think we did. I think it was pretty productive. I mean, because they hadn't heard our side.
No, that's true. They hadn't at all.
You know, I mean, so they actually sat and listened and said, "Really?
Yeah.
Really?" So I thought it was pretty good. Certainly educational from my standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. Hugely educational from mine. I was always pretty jaded about politics. I walked out of there probably more jaded than I was when I walked in.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get to Vegas? What did you do before that? I know you've done a lot of work on a lot of shows here.
Not a lot, because when I got here, I started, I actually took house gigs that I've stayed with for a long time.
Right.
You know, I'd never worked for any place for 6 years, and now I've done that twice since I've been here.
Wow. That's a long gig.
Yeah. I mean,
in this business, that's an eternity.
Yeah. You know, I always did the one-off tours and and this stuff. So yeah, that's good. You know, I mean, and now Vegas is where everybody's coming to get off the road and do that same thing. And
absolutely,
it works.
And we've got some amazingly good people here. People who've got just like world-class experience.
Yeah.
And they're in like every property you walk into almost.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those guys on my crew.
Yes, you do. I'm Dave Stevens, who was one of the founders of Pro Sound Web, is on Mark's crew.
My monitor guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a monitor guy, and when we have any issues with wireless stuff or stuff that we're not sure quite what it is and how it's going to operate in the real world, we bring it over to Mark and his crew. They did the review of the Kaltman creation system for us and a couple of other little things. So. So how long have you been at MGM itself? So I think you did FX before this?
Yeah. Well, that's how I got to town. I was on the road with Cats, and I got this call from some guy named Jonathan Deans that I think it was in Minneapolis or it was somewhere, and he woke me up and started asking me questions about MIDI and Macintosh and everything, and because I was able to answer one, he asked me, "Where's the preferences folder in the Macintosh?" I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" Man, it's in the system folder. And because of that, I'm here. He couldn't find anybody that could mix, that knew theater, that knew Macintosh, and knew MIDI and control stuff. And I'd been dabbling in it, and so he wanted me to come down. I flew down to Vegas and did a quick interview, put Cats in Hawaii, and trained a guy in a week, and boom, here I was living in Las Vegas.
And that was when?
That was '94 to come and do EFX.
Okay.
Yeah, so he called me up and said, what, 2 weeks, Las Vegas? No, see you, bye. And then I thought about it, like, Jonathan Deans, I heard of him.
Right, yeah.
And I called back, I said, all right, what is this about? And told me about this crazy effects thing, which, you know, by all accounts was a fair piece of crap, but the stuff that I learned was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know Jonathan was involved with effects.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was when he had his company, Real Time Audio.
Okay.
With Francois Bergeron. And yeah, so we put that thing together, and I stayed for the 2-year verbal agreement. Michael Crawford's contract was 2 years, so I said I'd hang for 2 years, and I did.
Okay.
And then I just got out of there quick as I could.
And After Effects, it was 2.
Well, then I worked with Jonathan and his company, Real Time Audio, and we did a lot of things around town. Installed the parade over at the Rio, and I did some stuff in London, and so that Real Time Audio, Jonathan was in New York, London, Francois was in LA, and then I was kind of Las Vegas, and did that and freelance stuff for a couple of years, and then they were putting together both the Bellagio, the O Show.
All right.
And I was actually part of the design of that. It was happening over at the next desk. I was working on a bunch of other stuff, and I kept looking, oh, that's cool, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, RTA was maybe going to dissolve, and there wasn't a whole lot going on, and they needed somebody to do the O Show, so I kind of jumped over and wished I'd been a part of it from the beginning.
Now, is that the point that Jonathan got so heavily involved with Cirque? Because when I think Cirque and audio, Jonathan's name is the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, he's done probably the vast majority of their stuff. It just evolved to where he was their favorite, and it was him and Francois Bergeron. And then they were trading off shows. But yeah, I mean that's when Cirque started really taking off and doing all these shows, and he did a lot of them.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about O, which, by the way, is still my favorite Cirque show. There's a surreal beauty to it that I can't put my finger on, but it's a beautiful show.
Yeah.
And it's huge parts of it are underwater, or on water, or and so talk to me about audio and and water and how we make all this work.
It's been some years, but boy, there was a learning curve there too, because we got into that, and none of that had ever been done before. Nobody had. Well, there was the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. Those guys were doing a lot of underwater stuff.
Right.
Disney was doing some. But the technologies that we needed, you know, they never really existed. So we built a lot of the stuff we used. We had, let's see, we ended up with 12 automated zones of audio underwater, 6 video cameras, and underwater comm.
Which is just, and I'm a scuba diver, so it's like I have an appreciation for that. The idea of doing all the backstage stuff that needs to be done on a show that complex underwater is stunning to me, and I dive. So I can, somebody who doesn't.
Well, when I was hiring my crew, that was, do you dive? Or are you at least open to it? Because we put everybody through rescue.
All the way through rescue?
Dive, yeah.
Wow, that's, I know.
Open water and advanced.
And then rescue, because I've only gone as far as advanced. One of the husband of somebody who was a receptionist for us at FOH as a stagehand. I guess he's actually on O, and I was, she was still working there when he was going through the training. They had him out at the lake and doing the whole bit. And I guess he said they started with 6 guys, and only 1 or 2 made it through the dive training and could handle being underwater and doing all that stuff.
Well, yeah, it's a pretty specialized thing.
Yeah, kind of, when you think about it. I mean, what you had to say, do you dive? Are you open to it? How many guys said, no?
Not many. It was a pretty exciting thing for
right.
There was it wasn't really a requirement, but I really needed it for most of my guys. Because we spent a lot of time underwater.